law enforcement career that would be applicable to a sheriff's role. And if you guys need the question repeated, just let me know and I'll repeat the question.
Again, during the opening statement, thank you to this gentleman, you heard what he said, where I was promoted to corporal, then to sergeant, and then lieutenant over courthouse security, overseeing the operations at courthouse security. Not only that, I attended a rigorous training down in Chapel Hill. It's called Sheriff's Leadership Institute. That was started in November of 22, and it concluded in March of 24, primarily focused on leadership, things in those areas. So that's my experience, and that's why I feel that I'm the candidate for sheriff. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bob Cook, you've got 3 minutes to answer that. Do you want me to repeat it?
I think I got it.
Okay.
Of course, I'm a little older than most everybody in the room, so I've had a lot of life. And that 20 years in the Navy, and each time they promote you in the Navy, you have to be sent to leadership training. That way you can know how to manage people, how to get the jobs done, and basically what you're required to do as far as honesty and integrity and that sort of thing. Each position. When I retired from the Navy as a chief, I was in various reserve offices throughout, I have to say the world, because I was on Guam for 4 years. My first reserve department, I was promoted to sergeant, and I worked in patrol. In my second reserve department, I was a lieutenant, where I was over the training at the police academy. That was on Guam. Those are very technical jobs, especially over the police academy. And I think and not only that, I think my experience in the Navy has probably prepared me more for this job than any other job I've had in my life. The military teaches you a lot of things about integrity, honesty, how to get the job done. And so I believe that I am definitely the best candidate for this job. Thank you.
So I'll remind the candidates, if you want to do a rebuttal, just let me know.
I do, yes, short and sweet.
So
I think
you have 1 minute.
yeah, I think the question was, in your law enforcement career, not your military career, 0 promotions whatsoever in his law enforcement career. 0. Thank you.
Okay, so we only allow the first person that spoke, but you can speak to it in your closing or at some other point with a question. So the next question was submitted by Mr. Bob Cook. So these are all going first to Sheriff Holbrook. So the question is, not including mandatory in-service training, what education or training have you taken to prepare you for leadership or a police agency?
Again, 26 years of dedicated service, both full and part-time with the Macon County Sheriff's Office. Right here at home, folks, it's easy to fact check me because all of my service has been right here in Macon County, home. I've attended numerous law enforcement trainings, ranging from tactical applications, first line supervision, to civil process and leadership development. I hold both my intermediate and advanced deputy certificate, reflecting my continuing commitment to law enforcement right here at home in Macon County. Additionally, like I said earlier, I actually completed a rigorous 4-week training program that was put on by the North Carolina Sheriff's Association. That was, again, Sheriff's Leadership Institute. And again, that program was November 22 until March 24.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cook.
I've attended several classes that prepare me for this particular function in my life. I've been through college. I've got a college degree. one of which is an associate's degree in administration of justice, and part of that is that I have training. They train you, I took classes in supervision of police personnel. In my bachelor's degree that I completed in October of 24, I took classes that was evidence, rules of evidence, laws of evidence. I also took classes in management of a police agency. Now, that was a very complicated class, and it was one that tested my ability to answer a lot of law enforcement type scenarios. But in law enforcement, I've taken all kinds of classes. Again, these are all related, just like his 4-week class that he took for his sheriff's leadership. That's a requirement class. However, I've taken advanced DEA classes. I've taken advanced leadership classes in the Navy. I've taken a lot of different kinds of law enforcement classes that prepare me to do the job of a law enforcement officer. But my management is, besides the Navy experience, I've got more training and more experience than anybody in this, on this stage. I spent 20 years in the Navy, most of which was in leadership and management. I spent 22 years in law enforcement, and contrary to what my opponent says, I did have leadership roles there. I didn't get promoted unless you count transferring to detectives, which in a lot of agencies, that's one of the promotions you get, is when you transfer to a detective position. And I was in various detective positions. I was one of the first ones in North Florida to do SNAP fraud investigations. As a result, the CFO of Florida asked me to tell everybody else that was doing investigations how to do it. In law enforcement, leadership and management encompasses a whole lot of things that you don't get in training. That's what I got from the Navy. I learned how to manage people. That was the important thing. I got my job done. I was one of the best at it. And I made sure that my people were taken care of. Every time I dealt with my command. So there's lots of training that I had in college and in the military, as well as in law enforcement. And I believe that's prepared me to be the next sheriff. Thank you.
So the next question is from Sheriff Holbrooks. The question is, what accomplishments have you made in your law enforcement career? So you've got 3 minutes.
What accomplishments have I? The list goes on, from the first ever death by distribution case to an outstanding amounts of legal or narcotics seized since I've taken office, and I'll share those stats with you later. I mean, the list goes on of my accomplishments, and our accomplishments, I should say, not mine. There's no I in team. It's our accomplishments, what we have achieved since I've taken office. Thank you.
Mr. Cook, you've got 3 minutes.
All right, the best accomplishments I've had starts out with my kids, raising my children to be productive citizens of this country. But on a more personal note, some of the accomplishments I've had, we'll start with the most recent one. I was recently awarded the Cardinal Award by the State Auditor of North Carolina. And that award was for holding government accountable and making sure and pushing for the efficiency of our government. From the government of Guam, I received a Silver Star Award. That was for bravery when I was involved in a shootout with some homicide suspects. I saved my partner's life. I was Officer of the Year. Out of 2,000 officers, I was chosen Officer of the Year 1 time, Officer of the Month 3 times out of the same 2,000 officers. I've had numerous citizens and command commendations. One I'd like to tell you about real quick is a lady by the name of Ava Ayers who gave me a personal commendation. She had complained about all the drug dealers at her neighborhood. And so I went out there and I did an investigation. It took 3 months. And at Christmas time, she called me and thanked me for having the first Christmas in 10 years where she could have her kids out in the yard. because we got rid of the drug dealers and the prostitutes. And that's worth more than I can tell you. I got a commendation for my investigations that led to the identification, the capture, and the location of the I-95 serial killer, Gary Ray Bowles. I also, as I said before, I was acknowledged by the state CFO of Florida for my investigations in the SNAP welfare program. And that's a pretty recent thing in the news today, and I will tell you, if you want me to curl your hair, I'll tell you about that later. I completed my associate's degree in the United States Navy. I completed my bachelor's degree in October of 2024. I was the oldest guy to walk across that stage in Columbia, Missouri. What I learned is you finish what you start. And one more thing that I got recently was a Paul Harris Fellowship Award from the Rotary Club here in Franklin, where I belong to the Daybreak Club. And so I've got way more accommodations and accomplishments than I could actually put out today because of both of my careers. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So the next candidate question is from from Mr. Cook. The question is, what qualities do you consider to be the top 3 qualities of a leader of a police agency? I'll repeat.
Sheriff or police?
It says, what qualities do you consider to be the top 3 qualities of a leader of a police agency?
Of a sheriff's office, not a police agency, but a sheriff's office. There's 2 totally different things. What I think is accountability, vision, and transparency. Now, you're going to hear from the other side that we're not transparent at all because we don't allow comments on social media. Well, first week of Sheriff's Leadership Institute, I brought that to their attention about the whole comment thing on social media. Well, my mentor at the time, Sheriff Blackwood from Orange County, North Carolina, said, absolutely, you have to do it. And then Lauren Earnhardt and Eddie Caldwell, the executive directors of the Sheriff's Association, said, absolutely not. If you come out of the gate statement that your Facebook page is informational only, you do not have to. And so we have it, and I think those are the 3 qualities. Thank you.
Mr. Cook, you have 3 minutes as well.
Thank you. I have 3 qualities I think are very, very important for somebody in law enforcement, whether it's police or sheriff, doesn't really matter. Y'all are the one, both of you enforce the law. The first one is integrity. Integrity is being able to do the right thing when nobody's looking.
Amen.
If you don't have integrity, that's the first strike against you as a law enforcement officer. The second is honesty. Whenever I sat on that witness stand, and I've sat on hundreds of witness stands, I had to answer for everything that I've ever done. Anything that, more importantly, I had to answer for anything anybody I worked with had ever done. So integrity and honesty is extremely important. But you have to be trustworthy too.
Yes.
And so, to me, if you're not trustworthy, when somebody calls me and asks me for a question, they got to trust that I'm going to answer it. If somebody has a problem that they need handled, they have to trust me that I'm going to handle it. And I have to have the integrity and the honesty to take accountability. I agree with Sheriff Holbrook. We have to have accountability. Accountability is the biggest thing that law enforcement has to have. Because if you don't have accountability for what you do, you might as well go home. All right, so I'm going to tell you right now that in my administration, accountability is number 1. Honesty, integrity, trustworthiness. You're not going to have a problem with me. And actually, I hadn't planned on talking about the Linky versus Free Supreme Court decision that says you have to do the open Facebook. But I also look at the North Carolina School of Government that also agrees that with the Supreme Court, go figure, that you have to have open Facebook. So in my administration, I will open communication so that you, the citizens, will have the ability to communicate with us. I'm not gonna rule the administration or govern the administration by Facebook. I'm not gonna do that. But at least it gives an avenue for citizens to be able to answer a question or ask a question and provide compliments. If they have criticisms, everybody has criticisms. It gives them an avenue to do that. Thank you.
So that is all of the candidates submitted questions. So there were several dozen questions that were submitted before this debate. We don't have 3 hours, so we've got time for maybe 6 to 8. They fall into 4 different categories. We've got one category is leadership style, education, and qualifications. Another category is budget and resource allocation. Another one is handling controversial issues. And our first question will be with the Sheriff's Department priorities. And so this question will go to Sheriff Holbrook first. And the question is, what new ideas or programs would you like to implement over the next 4 years? And what is your specific plan to achieve them?
Well, first and foremost, my platform I ran on 21-22, I plan on sticking with that. It's worked, obviously. Increased direct involvement with our community, youth and young adult support, officer retention, sustainability, and support, and the war on drugs. Now, we're getting ready to start the budget talks, probably the next couple of weeks. And so I'm gonna get my command staff together and we're going to collaborate and see what new ideas everyone has. It's not, again, it's not an I. We're a team. And so I want to get ideas from all of the command staff, and my command staff is absolutely amazing. So we'll get together, not only the budget talks, and see what things we want to implement in the new year. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll repeat the questions during this phase. So the question again is, what new ideas or programs would you like to implement over the next 4 years, and what is your specific plan to achieve them? Mr. Cook.
Well, we have a lot of different plans. If you follow my page, we have a lot of different plans that we proposed. What we've been doing hasn't been working. I still have neighbors calling me every day about drugs in their neighborhoods. I still have people calling me because they don't get responded to. Some of my plans, let's start with a couple of them. One, let's talk about Project Lifesaver. That's one of the programs that the Sheriff's Office gave to the Senior Services Center. That's a program, if anybody doesn't know, that tracked the like Alzheimer's and autistic kids. And so the Senior Services has that right now. I plan on combining that with the STAR program, Project Lifesaver, and a program that I read about recently called Special Needs Sticker Program. So that way I can cover all of our special needs kids too. And so if I can do that, then that's gonna help us keep track of people that are probably most vulnerable in our county. I can't go through all of them, but let me finish talking about that one. There was something I read recently about the drones. The drones can pick up signals for Project Lifesavers. Our drones cannot. Our drones have a hard time even standing up in front of the wind. So what I plan on doing is upgrading our equipment so that we can track an Alzheimer's patient that roams around in the woods. I will be able to track anybody that's got the little beacon on, and we will be able to find them hopefully a lot faster than 2 or 3 weeks. There was a gentleman not too far from me that walked away from his house, and it was 2 weeks later they found him. It was sad. So, and I've had people in my family that have Alzheimer's. The drug program. The drug program is another one. It's a 3-legged stool. We've got to do better on our drug program. We've got to have education. Our kids. I've got a different program than the DARE program. My late wife was a DARE instructor. She agreed with me. It's not that good. Then you have also enforcement. You got to have aggressive enforcement. There is nobody around here that's going to do a better job at aggressive enforcement than me. We have to hit the houses in the neighborhood. It's great that we knock off the street level stuff, but we have to hit the houses in the neighborhoods because that's who lives next to you. The guy driving down the road, 11 pounds of meth, great lick. I wish I'd have done it, but I've only bought 4 pounds at a time. So, but we got to knock off the house because the houses are what's next to you. And then the last one is rehabilitation. And that's an important part. We have to have all three. Without that, the drug program, no matter what you do, is going to fail. Thank you.
So the next question,
Got a
Paul.
rebuttal.
Yes, sir.
Just right quick, we never handed over Project Lifesaver to the senior services. They asked for it, we still do the tracking, it's running smooth, and everything's good. Thank you.
So the next question falls under the leadership style, education and qualifications, and specifically professional integrity and history. The question is, have you ever been the subject of an internal investigation? If so, what were the outcomes?
Short and sweet, you need about 2 seconds for this. I have not, never, no.
Unfortunately.
Ms. Cook, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I got it.
Since it was so quick.
22 years in law enforcement. I got 6. You know what those 6 were for? I made somebody mad. They said I was rude. That's what happens when you deal with thousands of people. Jacksonville, Florida area is a target-rich environment with law enforcement has a very tough job there. I dealt with a lot of people, and I wasn't there to be their best friend. Typically, I was there to put them in jail. Right. And that's what I did. So I'll take my 6. I'll take them and wear them proud. But I've never had a problem with my integrity. I've never had a problem with my trustworthiness. I've never had a problem with my honesty. When I was on that witness stand, I was able to raise my hand before I tell them, I had a problem with it. And every time I sat on that stand, those defense attorneys in Florida, they got a hold of my internal file. That's a little bit different here in North Carolina. They can't get a lot of the stuff. But in Florida, they could. Now, I was one of the more prolific narcotics detectives in Jacksonville, Florida. So if you don't think that they pulled my file every single time, then I got a bridge to sell. And they couldn't impeach me on anything I've done in my 22 years of law enforcement. And I put some bad guys in jail. I've arrested cartel members. And they had the money to fight. I've arrested murderers. They all had the money to fight. And we had big time lawyers down there against the Supreme Court. You never had to worry about my internal file. It was good as gold. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to do a time check right quick. Bill, are we 30 minutes in? Because we're going to flip the order once we get 30 minutes. How close are we? 3:47, so okay, gotcha. So the next question is under budget and resource allocation and specifically spending priorities. The question is, if given a surplus in either your capital budget or your general fund, what specific projects would you prioritize and why?
Just a second. The narcotics crisis. The majority of the crimes we investigate revolve around narcotics, right? Including property crimes such as breaking and entering. You know, when I first took office, we had 1 narcotics officer. We're up to 5. And I want to give a shout out to the lieutenant who apparently doesn't have that much of experience. 30 years with the State Bureau of Investigation and 2 years with local agencies, primarily dealing with just narcotics. We need to expand on our narcotics and tackling the issues that we're facing. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll repeat the question. It was a little lengthy. So the question again is, if given a surplus in either your capital budget or your general fund, what specific projects would you prioritize and why?
Thank you. This one I've given a lot of thought to. There's a lot of things that Macon County needs in the way of law enforcement. The one thing that they do need, and if I had the opportunity and money was no object, and the county commissioners agreed with me, we could get a new jail. Our jail was built in 1999. And that jail was built supposedly to have 150 beds. It had 75. It was supposed to have a kitchen. It has no kitchen. So money being no object, we'd have a bed, not built for today, because our county has grown 10, 20% in the last 10, 15, 20 years. When that happens, it's inevitable that our inmate population will also increase. And so the jail needs to be built for tomorrow. We need a kitchen. Our inmates right now, they get their food from Clay County. It comes in once or twice a day, and I'm fairly certain it doesn't taste good by the time they get to it.
Cold and wet.
We need a kitchen. And right now, if I get elected, one of the things that I do is I make do with what I got. So if I'm your sheriff, the first thing I'm gonna do is see if I can't get that contract for the commissary renegotiated. And get somebody local that can bring that food over for these inmates. We have an obligation. There's only 3 things that the sheriff's office is constitutionally mandated to do. Narcotics is not one of them. You have to take care of the courts. You have to take care of civil process. But you also have to take care of the jail. Those are the 3 things. And those things represent the highest liability that you, the taxpayer, has. If we don't take care of them inmates, we could get sued. The federal government could come in here if it's in bad shape, which it is, and they could shut it down. Our jail has not passed the first inspection in many, many years. It'll pass the second one, but the problem is a lot of it has to do with cleanliness, housekeeping stuff. That's easy to fix. That's easy to fix. But I think we can do better. We can do better for the inmates, which makes them better citizens. I've got other ideas for how to treat them in the jail. If we keep them for long enough, that's the problem we have in our jails, we don't keep them very long. So we need to make sure that our jail is at least enough that it serves our purposes in the upcoming years. Thank you.
Did you want to
I
Yeah,
do,
of
yes.
course I do.
So, in the past year and a half, we've got new paint, new flooring, new countertops, new cabinets. And just recently, the jail inspector came in, no deficiencies whatsoever. Thank you.
Okay, so now we've gone through the first half of the debate. We now are going to flip the order. So now Mr. Cook will answer the question first, and then Sheriff Holbrook second, and then Mr. Cook has a chance for a rebuttal. So you just let me know if you want to rebuttal. Okay, so the next question is under handling controversial issues, and specifically managing conflicts of interest. How do you define the difference between direct, indirect, and perceived conflicts of interest? How do you manage these when they involve personal friends or family?
Well, that's pretty easy. They're not going to involve my personal friends or family. I only got one. She's sitting right there. All right, so that's not going to be a problem. Now, an indirect. I'm sorry. What was the 3 again?
So the 3 categories were direct, indirect, and perceived conflicts of interest.
Direct conflict of interest is a violation of laws and policies. That's pretty easy. The laws are written. Our state senators, state representatives, they write the laws. They write them for a reason. They don't write them so we can go, well, you know, maybe we can follow this one. No, they write them for a reason. So we have to follow those laws. And as far as conflicts of interest, the indirect, I think, is just when somebody kind of feels like there might be a problem. And if a citizen contacts the sheriff's office and says, I think you have a problem, we probably ought to take that seriously. The indirect is things that don't directly affect the sheriff's office. The easiest way to deal with this is not have any conflicts of interest. If you find things that are conflicts of interest, or even I call it the image of impropriety. If we have an image of impropriety, we need to fix that. People have to trust us to do our job with ethics, within the law, and be trusted to do it. We're not able to pick and choose what laws that we want to follow. We have to follow all the laws. So if a law says that you can't have a member of your sheriff's office doing business with your sheriff's office, you probably ought to take a look at that. If the law tells us what we can and cannot do, I think it's pretty simple. I'm not going to have to worry about any conflicts of family. I failed to mention I do have a stepbrother that's here, but he won't be working anyhow. So anyway, conflicts of interest is the biggest problem, I think. It's a perception thing, right? If you perceive to be a problem, then probably we ought to look at it. I think that's important because that's being responsive to the citizens of this county. If you think you've got a problem, if they think you've got a problem, the easiest way to avoid that problem is to get ahead of it. Is there anybody that can disagree with that? If you get ahead of the problem and you explain it right off the bat, then there's not going to be a conflict of interest. Thank you.
So I'm going to reread the question list. You want me to reread it?
I'm good.
Okay, just want to confirm.
Conflicts are always addressed, typically if it's a personnel related. It's notes. Folks, I have to sit here this whole time making faces and whatnot right here. It's kind of ridiculous.
He's not good at rules.
No, he's not.
It said no earpieces. You want to come look at my ears?
Just put it down and be honest.
I am being honest.
I doubt that.
Okay, so let's hold up.
This is ridiculous.
Hold up,
I
guys.
knew starting out
So,
this was going to be.
let's hold up.
You're going to get your panties in a wad and cry? You're going to walk off and cry?
Hold on, guys. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. So I'm going to defer to Patty. So please stop the clock, reset the clock, if you would, please.
Sure.
Patty, you read. Okay. Okay, so Patty said it was just notes and ask him to stop. So let's restart the timer. So go ahead and start.
Conflicts are handled, but we have to be super sensitive with conflicts, especially when it comes to personnel issues. There's federal laws and guidelines we have to go by. And as far as family and this whole nepotism thing, I get it. I'm not generation Maconian, and yeah, I do have family that works here, some that's here tonight. But that was addressed in the commissioners meeting. I apologize, I wasn't aware that I had to give the graces, the blessing from the commissioners. I got that. Everything's taken care of. Thank you.
Okay. So let's take you in the rebuttal. For 1 minute for rebuttal.
The nepotism thing is something that I heard about a long time ago. So I brought it to the attention of the county commissioners that asked them if they had approved any of the immediate family hires that the sheriff had made. One of the things that's sad is when you have to kind of look up as a citizen what the law is. The sheriff should already know what these laws are. When you hire people, there's a process that goes into that. HR has a lot that they can offer, and I've met with HR, and we've discussed some of the hiring and how to do it. So as your next sheriff, I will stay ahead of the laws. I will make sure I am understanding what my requirements are and how I'm supposed to handle this. Thank you.
Okay, so the next question falls under the Sheriff's Department priorities and specifically detention center operations. Okay, so Mr. Cook, we start with you, and the question is, what do you identify as the top 3 operational weaknesses in our detention center today, and how will you address them?
Well, I've already talked about one, and that's the jail itself. I have talked, actually already mentioned it, and had a conversation or two with county commissioners, and I do know that the jail is on the long-range plans for Franklin. We need to move that up. That's the first thing. Second is manpower. Right now, you've got a requirement for 5 people in the jail on a shift. Typically, there's 3. Those inmates typically let you go home at night if you're a detention officer. That is not a job I like. I would not want to do it. I was very fortunate I never had to. It's a tough gig. You're locked in there with a bunch of people you typically wouldn't invite to your house.
That's right.
So they have to, we have to make sure that they have all the tools, all the manpower that they need to run that jail. And then the third would be the contracts. And I talked about that already. I want to make sure that the contracts for the food and the commissary are correct, and that we don't have any conflicts, and that it is the best that we can do for the inmates. Again, they're inmates, I get that. They're criminals, I get that. But we still have a job to do as far as the sheriff's office to maintain their health and well-being. And that's medical, and that's anything else that comes up. If an inmate gets sick, it's our job, it's in the rules that we have to take care of it. We have to pay their medical bills. So one of the things that we need to make sure is we have the best quality care that we can for these inmates, as well as the food and the building. The building has got to be replaced. It just got to be. And that's going to be a big liability for us as a county very soon. The problem with the manpower, when you only have 3 deputies working at night, what happens if somebody gets sick? They've got it, somebody takes off, that leaves you 2. Talk about a very unsafe position. We don't usually have too much of a problem in our jail with violence, but what if? We can't do our job based on what we normally do. We have to do it on the what if. Those inmates are typically pretty good because they know most of us. But there might be one day where one of them don't care. So we need to make sure that jail is run properly with the right amount of people and the right amount of things that go with it. Thank you.
So I'll repeat the question. What do you identify as the top 3 operational weaknesses in our detention center today, and how will you address them?
Personally, I think there's only one, and that's staffing. I'll be the first to admit, we're at a staffing shortage right now in the detention center, and only in the detention center. And that's because that's the lack of pay, or the lack thereof. I'm actually presenting to the commissioners next Tuesday, on hopefully changing that. And just so y'all know, there's no standardized requirement for the number of detention officers per inmate. There's not. So we have 3, and typically when one takes off, they have to fill it before they take off. Thank you.
Well, when you have 3 people and they have to call somebody in because they got sick, I'm not sure that's the best plan to be able to get a replacement. That's what a supervisor is for. Supervisors should do that. While there's no standardized plan, is it really, that's the answer? Is that we're going to go with what we got, 3, when 5 is safer? Our detention officers, he already said it, they don't get paid that much. And they got a tough job to do. So what we need to do is make sure they get the best environment that we can make, and that's what the administration is for. Thank you.
So the next question is about accountability. So the question is, how do you define accountability, and how will you ensure it applies equally to everyone, including your family members and close associates?
Well, accountability is being responsible for what you do. In the Navy, they taught me that. The buck stopped with me. I was the chief, and I was responsible. If one of my guys did something wrong, he didn't get his butt chewed unless it was by me. I got mine chewed. Because that's a leadership problem. That's a management problem. So, accountability to me is making sure that I do things the proper way. And that when I'm questioned about something that I may or may not have done, that I go, okay, let's talk about this. I either did or didn't, and we discuss it. If I did something wrong, here's what I find out about accountability in my lifetime. It's much easier to get ahead of it than follow up behind it. Right. If you want accountability for your position, you have to take accountability for it. I don't have to worry about my family. Like I said, my brother's over there, and my wife's here, and they're pretty much accountable. So I think that we as a citizen require our sheriff's office to be accountable for anything that they do, everything they do, and it doesn't matter whether the badge does not come off when you take off your uniform at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That badge is your badge. I carry my badge still. Because that meant that much to me. I'm accountable to how I'm expected to conduct myself. Thank you.
Sheriff Holbrook, how do you define accountability and how will you ensure it applies equally to everyone, including your family members and close associates?
First and foremost, we're all held accountable. Maybe not necessarily the folks in here, but the man upstairs. With that being said, with family, I don't directly supervise my family. The captains that are put into place over the different orgs throughout the different divisions throughout the sheriff's office, they're directly supervised by those captains, lieutenants, etc. If there's an issue, that issue is brought in before, if it is family related, then brought before the Chief Deputy Wishaw. Thank you.
You can do a rebuttal if you want to, otherwise we're moving on. So I'm going to do another time check. Bill, where are we at? 406. Okay, so what we need to do is, I think it'd be a good time to transition to questions from the audience. Are there any questions from the audience? Just toss your hand up there. I saw a hand right back here first. Sorry, you can be second. So we got a third here. So just no long speeches, please.
This is for Bob. How will you ensure your narcotics unit operates effectively, maintaining community trust?
That's one of the toughest ones because narcotics is one of those jobs that.
We came here over here for the question.
Oh, they didn't hear the question.
All right. How will you ensure your narcotics unit team and how they operate effectively while maintaining community trust?
The easiest way to maintain community trust is to maintain transparency. If you're not transparent when somebody asks a question, you're not going to have trust. Now, narcotics, of course, that's my thing. I did more investigation. Now, we talked earlier about the internal affairs investigations. It's easier to maintain a zero internal affairs when you have 20,000 people in your county than when you have 1 million. I've dealt with thousands and thousands of people, and so yeah, I had a few. But the thing is narcotics is one of the things that we had to fight all the time, because when you have bad cops, I had to answer for it when time I got on the stand. I had 3 people in my squad. They did everything. It was just like the movies, like Serpico. Did everything from robbing, stealing, and they ended up killing the guy. Every time I sat on that witness stand, I ended up having to answer for that. So how do I answer that for that question? When you call in a complaint for narcotics, I will make sure that there is an assigned person to it. I will concentrate on the houses in our neighborhoods, because that's the ones that make your lives miserable. They're the ones stealing your mail, your lawn ornaments, and killing your animals, because the animals are coming across the drug residues. So I'm gonna make sure we concentrate on the houses. And when I do that, I'm gonna make sure that the person that complained has an answer. See, that's the easiest way to maintain trust, is to make sure you get an answer. If nobody answers you, then here's what you do. You make up your own story, right? If you don't get an answer because I didn't answer you, you get to make up whatever story you want, whether it's right or wrong. So I promise you, you'll get an answer. And when we make, one of the things I'm going to do also is I've got a plan. Excuse me. I've got a plan that to shut down drug houses. Now I know we talked about they have a program here in North Carolina where they've done that, a couple of houses here in Macon County, and that's a great program. And if that's the program that I use, then that's the one I'm going to use. I'm going to shut down more houses. But what I found is, as soon as you reach into the pocket of the property owner, you start getting a lot more cooperation out of that house. All right? So if you make a complaint, I'm going to handle it. That's how you build trust with your neighbors. Thank you.
So it was agreed both candidates have the opportunity to respond to every question. Sheriff Holbrook, do you want to respond? Do you want to repeat the question repeated?
No, that's good.
Okay.
That's correct. We've had two successful nuisance abatements on local narcotics houses, but what some folks don't understand, there's a paper trail associated with that. If you have 2 or 3 calls at a certain location, that doesn't justify a nuisance abatement. They go back, I think it's 3 years of the calls for services at a said location. Search warrants, arrests, etc., not including domestic violence. I've actually worked personally, the 2 that were done, I personally done those myself. I'm currently working on another. It's not as easy as what one thinks. It's very time consuming, and thanks to the ALE, Alcohol Law Enforcement, they've been a great partner with the Sheriff's Office. Thank you.
Okay, so the next question from the audience, there were some submitted on note cards. So the next one up, and Mr. Cook, you will be first up on this one. What plans do you have to help those struggling with drug and alcohol addiction besides incarceration?
Well, one of the things you have to do is make people accountable for what they do. That's a word we used just recently, right? So we have to make whoever violates the drug laws accountable for what they did, because they're responsible for what they did. But when they get to be an inmate, that's where things can change. I've been advocating for the last several years for a program called the Medically Assisted Treatment Program. That program has been in existence for a while now. There's 3 counties right now in North Carolina that have participated in this. The last one was over in Jackson County. It's a no-brainer. When you put a guy in jail for being a drug addict, rather than letting him sit there and do the movie stuff where you see people shaking and throwing up and all that, you treat that like a medical issue. He gets treated for his addiction, and then when he gets out of that jail, and he will always eventually get out of that jail, he has a 17% less chance of repeat offending. How much money do you think that's going to save you, the citizens of Macon County? But more importantly, if I can treat him with a medically assisted treatment program, it gives a 40% chance less that they will get out of jail, overdose, and die. Can anybody here raise their hand and say they've never been affected by anybody in their family by drugs? Yeah, me too. I've had 2 family members. So what you want to do is you want to save them so when they get out, if they're doing 5 bags of heroin going in, when they get out, they think they can do another 5 bags. And the first time they do, they're gone. And what that does, if they're not gone, then we have to pick up the tab for EMS, hospitalization, police, when it's easy to just do the right thing in the beginning and treat it like a medical issue. If Jackson County can do it, I'm fairly certain Macon County can find the time and the effort to do it. Buncombe County is the other one that does it. I don't know what the third one is, but I know those 2 do it. And it's been very successful. Buncombe County is the one that's had a lot of success with it. And I talked to Doug Farmer about this some time ago, the sheriff over in Jackson, and he sees the benefit to it also. So that's one thing I want to do, and that helps us. That helps us as citizens. That helps your neighbors, your kids. It helps anybody that you have in your family. It helps them become more productive citizens. Thank you.
You want me to repeat the question? Okay.
No, sir. So there are some stats out there, and the stats that he was just referred to is from Buncombe County alone. There's no known stats throughout the state that either says the MAP program is good or it's bad. I've got to call in to the Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm waiting a response from them on the MAP program. I have kicked around the idea of starting the MAP program in the detention center, but only Vivitrol. Vivitrol is a shot. We have a policy in place that we're not to pass controlled substances. So I'm not a fan for Suboxone or methadone. The assaults, the threats that are associated with passing narcotics in the jail are extreme. In Jackson County is on the Vivitrol. They are on the MAP program. But guess what? Everybody that's receiving the MAP program in Jackson County hasn't been released. They're still in custody. So they don't really know if it's good or not, if it's really working or not. Thank you.
So let's do a quick time check. Bill, how are you looking on time? We need to say 10 minutes. Do you want to do a rebuttal? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Just because Jackson County hasn't received any data yet, doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. Just because it's only Buncombe County doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. That's right. Like I said, there's 3 counties, and those stats are more than just Buncombe County. So what I want to ask you as a citizen, if it's your child that's in the jail, and we can help your child, you want us to wait till more data comes available? I don't think so. I think a proactive approach is to handle it in advance and get ahead of it. Just like I said about accountability, being ahead of the problem. Thank you.
Okay, Bill, what's our time check here? 4:16. I think we've got opportunity for one additional question. I've got another one here. I know there's people here that want to ask questions. You can stay afterwards and hopefully ask the candidates your question personally. The next question, Mr. Cook, is, if I can read it. I believe the truth is number one. It is if a detective files false information, if a detective files false information that involves key issues, how would you deal with protecting the families involved? Let me try and read that again.
Here, can I just see the mic and I'll ask it myself?
Okay, perfect.
I can't write good because I'm left-handed. So
Okay, so it could be my eyesight as well.
I've been waiting well over a year to ask this question, and I haven't been able to get the opportunity to ask that and receive an answer. And it's a shame that I have to come here to be able to ask this question and receive an answer. But if a detective files false information on key issues involved in a search warrant, how would you handle that, addressing the officer and the family involved in that situation? Would you care about their concern, and just how would you go about that process?
Well, false information on any document that law enforcement prepares is a very serious offense, and it's a very serious accusation. I've seen many times where people are accused and there's nothing to it. But you don't know if there's anything to it until you take a look at it. You've got to investigate it. And if it bears out that the document has fake information or false information, then that deputy or whoever it is that did it will have to be held accountable. And again, we go back to that word, right? Accountability. Your people have to be accountable, and they're accountable from the top down. And so I have to make sure that if there's a problem with an employee, nobody nobody jumps the gun. They gotta look at it. We gotta look at it as the administration. We've gotta look at it to make sure what is going on, what information. We interview the family, we interview the detective. We do the investigation ourselves to also make sure that it's correct. If it's correct, we let you know that. If it's not, then you and I can talk about it, and we see what we can do to smooth everything over. But the problem is that opens us up as an agency for extreme liability. When you do something wrong as a police agency, you are open to the biggest liability that you can't imagine. We as a county will have to be good stewards of our money, and having to worry about lawsuits for people that put in erroneous information into a document, especially if it's a known erroneous information, that's something I won't stand for. As your sheriff, I will hold my people accountable. I hold myself accountable. So if I have to hold myself accountable, you can pretty well guarantee I'm gonna hold everybody else accountable, because that's the right thing to do. We have to do the right thing. So, the one thing that I would like to do is I would look at all those complaints. If you put in a complaint, then you'll have a certain amount of time to have that investigated, and you'll have an answer back on it. Good or bad, you may not like the answer, but at least you'll have somebody contact you. You won't have to wait a year to show up at a forum to ask anybody that you have a question of. If you write, like right now, if you write to me, I'll respond to you. It's not like I don't have anything else to do, but I do. I respond because it's the right thing to do. It's holding myself accountable. I will hold everybody accountable for the process. And you will have an answer, right or wrong, you'll have an answer. Thank you.
I've got to really watch what I say here because I'm familiar with that, and what Mr. Hughes is talking about back there. I can tell you we're all human. We all make mistakes, and that issue was taken care of in federal court.
He was sentenced to prison on a lie?
And I cannot go into any further detail on that.
You could have talked to me.
Never reached out, Randy.
Oh, I've been there 100 times, brother.
Yeah, we don't have responsibility.
I understand. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay, so you want a rebuttal, otherwise we'll go into open. Okay, go ahead.
This is exactly what I was talking about holding yourself accountable and being responsive to the citizens of Macon County.
That's your sheriff.
It's very simple. If he knows the answer, at least we can't always tell you everything. I mean, and I can explain that to people. If something happens in your family and I can't explain everything, I'm still obligated to tell you something. It's important that you as a citizen know that our sheriff's office is transparent and that we're responsive, because if we're not, we're here because of you. We have to serve you as a citizen. That's the most important thing, is make sure that you have what you need is within the best of our ability. Thank you.
Okay, so that's all the time that we have for questions. If you've got some more afterwards. Okay. Well, no, so we've got closing statements next. So the chili does sound good. So we're going to reverse the order from the opening statements. So Sheriff Holbrook, you started. So we're going to reverse the order. So Mr. Cook, if you would like to give your closing statement, you got up to 3 minutes, and then Sheriff Holbrook will have 3 after that.
Here's what the Navy taught me. It taught me how to manage assets. Taught me how to work with different cultures. How to lead men and women. Value of improving education. Constant testing to improve myself and my people. Teamwork towards a common goal. Discipline, honor. Honor is very important to me. Integrity, very important. Physical, emotional, and spiritual discipline. If I tell you I'm a godly man, come visit me at church. I can promise you. You don't have to just sit in church. That doesn't make you a godly man. That makes you a man that goes to church.
Right.
Physical, emotional, I've already said that, I'm sorry. Accountability for your actions. How to treat everyone equal based on merit. Everybody gets treated the same way. That's my goal within the sheriff's office, is to treat everybody the same way. Avoiding the appearance of impropriety. These are all things the Navy taught me. Does it sound like something that our sheriff should have?
Yep.
I will promise you that as your next sheriff, you will never have a reason to be disappointed in me. You'll never have a reason to have to come to me a year later and ask me a question that you've been trying to get an answer to. You'll never have to come to me and tell me about a problem with my people that I didn't handle, because you'll know about it within the law. Now, there's certain things I can and cannot tell you when it comes to officer discipline, but you'll know within law that it was handled. So, I think that we need to change the way things have been done. I think that we need a fresh start. And I'm the guy that's going to do that for you. I've been in Macon County for a long time. I've been listening to Macon County residents for a very long time. And this is not a job that I take on lightly. Like I said, I've been retired twice. I suck at retirement. So I can't sit around. I've got to be able to, and I feel it's my heart is a service. I volunteer for about 11 different organizations in Macon County. I help your children, I help your elderly, I help the veterans. Our veteran community is 10% of our population. That's huge. And I also have a plan to help them if they ever fall off the wayside and go to jail. That's something that's not been done to help our veterans. And we need to help them because they served us. Thank you.
You know, walking in here this afternoon, I thought this would be the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. It wasn't. Pull my son out of the fire, that was hard. This is the cake. And to be completely honest, I absolutely hate this season. Now, I want to be your sheriff, don't get me wrong, but election time brings out the worst in so many people, and it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The name calling, the blame, the casting stones, and the hate. For what reason, folks? To build up one candidate or belittle or browbeat another? Are you kidding me? We're better than that. And it's happened a lot. Not from me. With that being said, the Bible always it teaches love, mercy, compassion, grace, forgiveness. That's a big forgiveness.
Marriage.
Vote for me in February. Early voting starts February 12th. The primary is March 3rd. March 3rd. But a vote for me is a vote to ensure that Macon County keeps moving forward like it is. And a vote for me ensures that Macon County Sheriff's Office don't have to start from scratch. And to be honest, I don't know, it'll probably be a skeleton crew, if not. Thank you all. God bless. And have a wonderful weekend.
So, thank everyone for coming. This is for all, both our candidates. This is not easy to get up here and answer questions on the spur of the moment. So I'm going to turn it back over to Chairman Patty Crick, the best chair in the
Well,
state.
see, Detective Zari originally started it, but because I made the complaint he was my son's school resource officer and they butted heads, Zari had a prejudice against my son. So he lied and said my son raped someone, and then when they got the search warrant, he had a picture of his girlfriend on his phone. They couldn't get him here, so they filed federal charges. Yeah, I'm sorry you're going through it though. Yeah.
They're not giving me answers. That little prick up there ain't giving me answers.
Yeah, I know.
The only one is Bob.
I know he didn't know anything about it and reached out and listened. He said I can't comment on a specific case, but he cared enough to listen.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about chili.
Good one and good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
We have candidates who have not candidates, like political candidates, but candidates who put their chili on the line and brought some chili back there. So if you have not already purchased a ticket for chili, it is $10. That gets you get to taste all of them, but you get a bowl of whichever one you like the most. You also get a drink and dessert. Okay, and all the toppings. If you've already purchased your ticket, there's about 10 of you that did. We gotta work on that. Luckily, we had people who brought backup, so there's plenty there. So I want to encourage you to stay. I hope both candidates will stay and have some food with us. Oh, how do you vote for which one? When you buy your ticket for dinner, you will get a little paper ticket, and in front of the chili that you like the best, you get to put your ticket in. Okay, and there is this glorious 6-foot wide trophy for the chili winner, and they also get to split part of the proceeds. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you coming out today on such a dreary day. Most of all, I want you all to join me in thanking both of these guys for coming out tonight.